Hello, and welcome back to Beyond the Hustle podcast, the podcast for building the human that you are behind the business and behind the success. Also, welcome back to the Money Rewire Series, the series that I'm hosting through August, where we are uncovering the subconscious patterns shaping your income, sales, and success. Also, I just want to say I am actually pre-recording this episode, but when you listen to this episode, I will have just come back from an incredible weekend in London. I'm probably feeling a little bit fragile, if I'm honest, because I was going to a festival with my friends, and if you know, you know. But I again just wanted to say how important it is to actually live your life outside of your business and your success, because like I said at the start of last week's episode, August has been an incredible month for me where I've actually allowed myself to do that. I mean, I never don't allow myself to do that, but I just feel like every single time that you travel, every single time that you go to, a new place, or you actually, meet new people, or you go for your date nights, that time is just so important. So yeah, reminder to give yourself that time this week, this weekend, whatever it is that you're doing. If you're going to festival, you enjoy that festival, okay? If you're having a movie night in, you enjoy that movie night. Whatever floats your boat, make sure you take time for that as well, okay? Because while we're talking about money, we also want to feel a way of actually building up our relationship with money is also being able to spend it without guilt, being able to actually live our life without feeling bad about the money behind it, okay? But if you listened to the last few episodes, you'll know that we've been working our way through the subconscious side of money, right? We started with money avoidance and why so many business owners avoid looking at their numbers, checking their bank account, or making financial decisions because somewhere along the way, money started feeling safe. Then we spoke about the money stories you grew up around, the beliefs that you inherited without even realizing, things like money doesn't grow on trees, rich people are greedy, or you have to work hard for every penny. And then in the last episode, we spoke about your money ceiling and why so many business owners seem to hit the same income month after month, or hit a high cash month followed by a drop, despite having the strategy, because your subconscious is always trying to keep you at the level that feels familiar and safe. Today's episode builds on top of all of that, right? Because once you understand your money stories and your money ceiling, there's one thing that reinforces them every single day, and that is your language, the way that you speak about money. Because your subconscious doesn't just listen to what you believe in your mind, it listens to everything you say out loud, okay? And this is, can I just say, I feel like I can already hear people being like, oh, I don't need this episode. You do, okay? Your language around money shapes it every single day. Right? How many times do you open your mouth without thinking about what it is you're about to say, right? Your subconscious listens to everything you say out loud. Every sentence you repeat becomes another piece of evidence for how your brain believes the world works. Most people don't even realize they're doing it, right? Most people don't even think before they say something, right? So you might think that you're simply making an observation of, I can't afford it. I'm terrible with money. I need to be better with money. Nobody's buying at the moment. People won't pay that. That's so expensive. I'm all with skin. I'm just not good with numbers, right? These phrases become so normal, and they are so normalized now that we stop questioning them, right? I hear it all the time when I'm walking around shops. Oh, I'm too skin for that. I don't know if skin is a Scottish word or a UK word. So if anyone's listening, not from here, it's cheap, right? But yeah, or broke. I'm always broke, right? I'm always struggling for money, basically, right? But these phrases, I swear to God, they've become so freaking normalized. Walking around the shops, I hear it 20 times walking through a shop, right? Your subconscious won't actually question them. So when you say them, your subconscious isn't necessarily questioning them. It's going to store them. It's going to build evidence on them, and it's going to believe them, right? Then it gets to work making them feel true for you, right? One of the primary jobs of your brain is to create consistency, not success, not happiness, but consistency in whatever your subconscious believes. And it wants your external world to match your internal beliefs. That's why if you deep down believe you're not good enough, you will see evidence of that outside of yourself. Or if you believe that you're not likable, you will subconsciously search for evidence outside of yourself that this is true, even if it's a tiny piece of evidence. So if every single day you're reinforcing the idea that money is difficult, that clients aren't buying, that you're bad with money, that you don't deserve money, your brain is going to start filtering your world through that lens. That's when you're going to notice every inquiry that doesn't convert, or every unexpected bill that comes your way, or every quiet week, or every single rejection. Meanwhile, the opportunities, the wins, and the evidence that contradicts your story barely register, and you do not allow yourself to celebrate them. Because your subconscious isn't asking, is this true? It's asking, is this familiar? And if it feels familiar, it's going to keep finding evidence to support it. That's why language matters so much. Let me just interrupt this episode real quickly, because if you're listening to this money mindset series and realizing that the shoe do be fitting, you want the abundance around money, financial freedom, to be hitting the 10K cash months without worrying that it's going to disappear, to look at your bank account without instantly panicking, and to be able to spend on yourself without feeling guilty, then the Rewire coaching space is for you. Because this is the only strategic subconscious led space that actually focuses on rewiring your money mindset to elevate your business growth sustainably. I'm not talking about positive money affirmations in the mirror. I'm talking doing the deep inner work to remove the emotions and stories around money so you can actually feel safe scaling financially. You will gain access to an in-depth audit to begin your journey, countless live calls and trainings on all things money mindset, visibility, scaling without burnout, as well as strategic one-to-one support to ensure you're always moving forwards instead of remaining stagnant. And when you join from this podcast series, you will also gain an extra one-to-one call with me to rewire your biggest money limitation on the spot. And if this sounds like a bit of you, then slide into my DMs and let's chat, or hit the link in the episode notes to inquire, and let's scale you and your business sustainably. Now let's get back to the episode, because repetition of your language becomes your identity, and your identity drives your behavior. Now, before you think that this episode is about positive thinking or pretending everything is amazing, it isn't, okay? I'm not asking you to lie to yourself and fake it till you make it. Right? If you don't have the desired amount of money in your account, I'm not asking you to say that you do. That's not how this works, okay? This is about changing the questions that your brain is solving. Your brain is constantly answering the questions that you ask it. So if you say, I can't afford it, your brain is going to say, yeah, correct, end of conversation, period, right? Instead, if you ask, how could I afford it? What would need to happen for this to feel possible? How could I create that money? Now you've given your brain something productive to solve, right? Your mind loves solving things, okay? And the same applies in business as well, right? Instead of nobody's buying. I hear this all the time, by the way, especially coming into like the colder months here in the UK and coming into Christmas. And can I just say, by the way, everyone always says December is the quietest month. December has always actually been my biggest month. Not my biggest, but one of my biggest. Like December has always been fire months for me in business. But yet again, every single October, November, December, I hear people going, nobody's buying, right? Instead of saying that, why not ask, how could someone feel empowered to buy today? Why not actually ask a question instead that would allow you to solve that problem rather than just sit in it? And another one that I hear all the time is, I'm terrible with money. Okay, instead of just saying, I'm terrible with money, why not ask, what would someone who manages money well do next, right? Or even, what evidence do I actually hold that I am good with money? When you're thinking of the crossover of these or the difference of these, can you feel the difference of them, right? Can you feel the difference of, I can afford that versus how could I afford it? One of these closes possibility and one closes an answer and builds a limitation. The other actually creates like potential, right? That one of them reinforces limitation, but the other creates curiosity and opportunity, right? And curiosity, as I've said in the previous episodes, curiosity is one of the safest places for your subconscious to grow because it doesn't create resistance. And that's why I rarely tell clients to jump straight into affirmations, right? If you know me, you know I have a love-hate relationship with affirmations, because time and time again, I see literally incredible people, incredible women coming to me saying, I did my affirmations and nothing changed. And yet, no shit, it didn't, okay? Because you stood in the mirror saying, I'm amazing with money and money flows to me. By the way, I've done all this. Yet you walked away from the mirror, still avoiding your bank account, avoiding selling your service, and not giving people the opportunity to buy from you. Affirmations without action are just words. If someone genuinely believes they're terrible with money, repeating, I'm amazing with money 50 times in the mirror often feels incredibly fake. The brain is literally going to reject it. You're throwing something at a brick wall and hoping it sits. But asking, what would someone who's confident with money do next? That feels possible. That invites possibility. That creates movement and opens the door towards change and opportunities, right? No successful person has ever become successful simply affirming to themselves that they are successful. They've become successful by deciding to be someone who holds success. That's how it works. You're not going to create the change that you want simply affirming, I'm wealthy in the mirror, if you're moving away from the mirror as someone who is still moving as if they're broke. And that's not also me to say that, like, if you want to be wealthy and spending on X, Y, and Z monthly massages, but it doesn't make sense to do that right now, don't do it, right? That also gets to be true. But simply relying on affirmations alone without actually backing that up with action is just repeating words in a mirror. And I mean that in the nicest way possible. I'm so sorry if that is savage. I really want to kind of coach you through something. If you can listen to the last episode, I've been giving you guys actionable kind of prompts and steps to move through to really begin rewiring your money mindset. So if you're driving, please keep your eyes on the road, because I know some of you listen to this in the car. But if you're somewhere that you can give me like your full attention, I want you to grab the notes app on your phone, or grab a piece of paper or like a journal. We're just going to do something really, really simple, okay? I want you to think back over the last week. And I want you to think back, and I want you to think back across the last week of what's one sentence that you've repeatedly said about money. Not like what you wish you'd said, by the way. We're not going to be conscious about this. What is one sentence you've actually repeatedly said, right? The sentence that comes out automatically when you're doing your fit job, or you're browsing the shops, or you're online window shopping for your next holiday, you've got Skyscanner open. Like, what's one sentence you've repeatedly said about money? I'm going to give you some examples from previous client calls, okay? So maybe it's, I can't afford it, it's too expensive, maybe it's like nobody's buying, yeah, I'm terrible with money, I'm not good with money, people won't pay that to work with me, I can't spend on myself, I don't deserve to spend on myself. Whatever it may be, I want you to write it down. Now, I want you to look at that sentence for a moment and ask yourself, if my subconscious took this as an instruction, what financial future would it create? Actually, let me say that again. If my subconscious took this as an instruction, what financial future would it create? Would it create confidence, opportunity, resourcefulness? Would it create, like freedom? Or would it create hesitation, fear, scarcity? Because that is exactly what your subconscious is doing. It isn't judging whether the sentence is true. It's asking, is this a reality we're creating? And it's creating it. Now, here's the shift for you, okay? We're not going to replace that with an affirmation you do not believe. We're not doing that, okay? I want you to replace it with the question. Because, again, your brain loves solving questions. It loves solving puzzles. So let's change these limitations. Let's rewire them, okay? Instead of, I can't afford it, I want you to turn that into a question. It could be something like, how could I afford it? Instead of, no one's buying at the moment, I want you to change it more towards like, what would make someone say yes today? What would help someone say yes today? Instead of, people won't pay that, I want you to ask something more like, how can I communicate the value of my services more clearly? And that's not just necessarily putting the responsibility straight onto you, but also at the end of the day, someone paying is actually their responsibility. Your responsibility is to communicate the value. Or if you're saying, I'm terrible with money, could you actually ask a question like, again, what would someone who manages money do next? And that's not me also saying that, like, let's sit and be like, yes, you are terrible with money. But if you could actually see that, how would someone who you perceive to be good with money moves and behaves, you can also probably see where you match up with that. And I want you to write down your question and bring yourself back to this every time that you notice that sentence repeating in your mind or saying it out loud, right? Or if you do a fit job or whatever, weekly shopping with your partner every week, tell them about this too, so they can politely call you out and pull you back to this question instead. Actually having someone to pull you out of that, like how I do with my clients, is very, very useful for helping you snap through and actually rewire bit by bit. And I want you to notice how different that feels as well. Notice the energy change in the question alone. Okay, so for the next 7 days, and this is kind of like your challenge, right? Because you've got the limitation rewired there, reframed, sorry. Your challenge for the next week. For the next 7 days, I want you to become the observer of your own language. Every single time you catch yourself saying something disempowering about money, I want you to pause. Okay, I want you to no longer judge yourself, no longer judge what it is that you're saying, but just disrupt it, right? And replace it with a better question, because awareness is the interruption, okay? The interruption is then what creates choice. And choice is where your subconscious starts learning a new pattern. And you have to allow this as well to build bit by bit. So by the end of the week, don't measure success by, whether you've made more money. Measure it by asking yourself, have I spoken about money differently than I did 7 days ago? Have I felt, differently towards money than I did 7 days ago? Right? Because before your income changes, your language has to change. Before your behavior changes, your language has to change. Before your identity changes, your language has to change. Your words aren't just describing your financial reality. They are literally rehearsing it and creating it in front of you, right? You cannot expect yourself to hold the 10K months with ease if you're always saying I'm terrible with money at 6K months. And you cannot expect yourself to increase your income without panic if you're always saying nobody is buying during your first dip or slow week of the month, right? So you need to choose your language wisely. You need to choose your questions wisely. You need to choose your words wisely. Choose them very carefully, because nothing changes if your language stays the same. The language is going to upkeep your identity that you're actually playing into behind the scenes and subconsciously. And if you do this challenge this week, I would genuinely love to hear what came up for you. Okay, like I've said in all the other episodes, send me a DM on Instagram, right, with the money phrase that you caught yourself saying the most and the question you've replaced it with, because I read every single message and I'd love to know what you notice after 7 days, how you feel, what has come up, what has changed for you. And like I said, let this be a process, right? I'm not asking you to wake up tomorrow and have a brand new freaking relationship with money. It takes time, and you need to let it take time, okay? You need to let it build bit by bit, day by day, week by week, because that's where you're going to see the sustainable change as well, the sustainable results. We're not here for a quick fix. If you're listening to this and you made it this far, you're also not here for a quick fix. So do this challenge, catch yourself out, and allow yourself to rewire your money mindset week by week, bit by bit. Okay? So yeah, thank you so much for listening. And if you've made it this far into the series, we're also going to have another episode next week, again on more so on why your relationship with money is why you're not signing clients. So if you're a business owner, which pretty much 90% of listeners here are, if you're a business owner, this is going to be a really, really good episode for you. So I will see you next week. And yeah, I hope that you have a lovely day. And I hope that you also take some time for the human that you are behind your business and behind money as well. Switch off, enjoy the life and the freedom that you have created, because where you are now is obviously once where you wanted to be. Okay, so soak it up. And I will see you guys next week.